Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Playmakers Ball Podcast, the NFL edition. Today we're going to talk about the AFC West, the NFC West. So we're going to the West Coast today. Now, just a disclaimer here, we had some audio difficulties, so we had the episode a little bit short, but we got you covered. We got everything that you need to know, what you need to hear from us here at the Playmakers Ball Podcast. But yes, we're going to get into the whole situation of Antonio Brown, the Oakland Raiders, and the NFL. We're going to talk about that bad man, Patrick Mahomes up in Kansas City. We're going to talk about the LA Chargers and the injury to, their safety and Melvin Gordon holding out. But we're going to get into the NFC West where my LA Rams still run the show. And social media is going to prove it. So, without further ado, it's the Playmakers Podcast. Subscribe to us, enjoy the show. Facebook, Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, whatever. Check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Playmakers Ball Podcast NFL edition. You know me, down there the Playmakers Silence. You know my co-host, Dallas Glenn. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother.
Today we talking West. AFC West, NFC West. Yeah, we're going to get into Antonio Brown and what shenanigans he got going on. We're going to talk about my Rams. But we're going to start off with the AFC West with Sofa and Headphones Put to Essence. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man.
So let's dive into it. AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs won it last year. Oakland made some moves. But you know how we do here at the Playmaker Balls Podcast. We let our guests go first to break down the business. So Sofa, go ahead and break down the AFC West.
Okay. So, you know what? As far as, the Kansas City Chiefs, you know what? I think they're going to do a little better than last year. I think they're going to finish. My projected finish for them is 13-3. I think they win the division. They lost Dee Ford in a trade to my 49ers, and he was a, pass rush expert. I mean, double-digit sacks. However, they traded for Frank Clark from the Seattle Seahawks. So I think that, they're right on par with their pass rush, another double-digit sack guy. They released safety Eric Berry, but they signed the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. So I think that's a big upgrade. Eric Berry barely played any games in the last 2 seasons due to injury. Tyrann Mathieu, younger guy, a lot more durable. I think he played every single game in the last 2 seasons, played all 16. And he's a tough guy. He brings that toughness. So I think in that sense they upgraded a little bit. I don't think Mahomes will have as hot of a year as he did last year, but I think he'll still be solid. Travis Kelce will still be his primary target. I think they finished at the top of the list, 13-3. So I wanted to start there with the division champs there and go from there.
All right, Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not picking the Chiefs to win in the preseason, I don't really know. Maybe you're trying to be a bookie or something. I don't know, because they're returning the MVP, and because of transactions and personal incidents, like Patrick Mahomes is going to be the bell cow. He's a quarterback, but he's going to be the bell cow. He's going to throw for like 550 plus attempts, probably. He's going to be the one who sets the tone. Week 1, they're going to Jacksonville, which is a very good pass defense. It was top 3 last year. And in the preseason right now, despite the debacles that are going on, I think they're still a top 10 pass defense, despite everything. So they're starting off hot, and it's going to be a big test. And in that division, you're really trying to figure out who's going to be second, because in the off chance that Mahomes has not a real sophomore slump, because it'll be his 3rd year in the league, but a sophomore slump as far as being a starter goes, you have to look at who's going to be the most consistent. Keenan Allen's nicked up already. Melvin Gordon's still holding out. Austin Eckler hasn't been a feature back yet, so that's still a question mark as far as 16 games of high usage and productivity. And Phillip Rivers, it's ironic, but, they're going to wait to go on about his contract. But you have to wonder, at his age, what does a contract year look like for Phillip Rivers? There's a reason why Ben Roethlisberger got an extension. Russell Wilson got an extension. Dak wants an extension. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that got paid this offseason, yet somehow, some way, Phillip Rivers is the odd man out. And despite the fact that the Chargers have historically been cheap with their contracts and not wanting to pay people, it makes you wonder when you're at the cusp of maybe being a contender. Brady might age out. Everybody else is young. The only teams you're thinking of that might be dark horses as far as just defenses carrying them goes, Nick Foles, career backup, Lamar Jackson, second-year starter, with passing questions. So, I think the Broncos right now are the ones that people should look at for finishing second and maybe competing for like that 6th wild card seed to maybe make some noise in the tournament, because they're returning a 1,000-yard rusher. They've got a stable quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet, but he's stable. He is a starter. He is a tall pocket passer that can succeed in the NFL. They still have a walking Hall of Famer in Von Miller leading the charge in that defense, and they got somebody else on the other side of them coming off the edge in that 5-2. So I think that the Broncos aren't going to win, but they're like one of the teams I'm looking at to make the 6th seed, and maybe then the chips are up, because once the tournament starts, you never know.
I'm happy you start right there at Denver Broncos. I'm so happy you did that, Dallas. Because the one team that they didn't mention was the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
You had a horrible season last year because you pretty much traded one of the best edge rushers there is in the game, in Khalil Mack. You got a sweet deal to get Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown has false bite on his foot. He's not liking the helmet. He don't want to play because he can't get his helmet and all this other stuff. So it's like,
I think there's too many distractions on that team, and honestly, you bring in throw in there, you bring in Richie Incognito, who they say he has a quote unquote checkered past, but that's really an understatement. He threatened to kill some funeral home employees last year. So far on Hard Knocks, they haven't really. I'm kind of happy they're not painting anybody. HBO's not painting anybody as really a villain, but they're really glossing over the Richie Incognito issue. I think that's gonna, sooner or later, there's gonna be some issues in there because he does not seem like a stable guy. And as you mentioned, Antonio Brown's, plethora of drama, all his issues. So we don't know what's going to happen there. I think, Gruden, as you said, he traded away Khalil Mack. He also traded away, is arguably one of his best receivers in Amari Cooper. He's really trying to build his own team here. He's trying to get rid of all those key pieces, except for Derek Carr, of the Del Rio era. But I think he's still pretty far out. He's, year two still of Gruden is still a work in progress. And I think it's just too many distractions. I don't see them finishing much better than last year. I see them at another 4-12 or maybe 5-11 at best finish.
Now, Dallas, I did not come to you about Antonio Brown throughout this whole situation because I wanted to save it for the podcast because I want to know if you're going to make me laugh or not. So go ahead, sir.
No, it's not. Because I'm not looking at it from a troll's perspective. I'm looking at it from I'm very confused because I'm trying to figure out where Mark Davis's head at is in all this. You don't do the deal that you did with John Gruden to be an active member on the football side. For those who don't know, Mark Davis, his entire career up to his father's passing was pretty much running the retail side of the Oakland Raiders. So, he's a very talented business mind because, let's be real. Raiders merchandise.
Let me remind people, Dallas is talking about the fact that John Gruden got a 10-year contract with the Oakland Raiders.
Well, if you're going to just cut me off, say the numbers too. Like all the numbers.
$1 million.
And a no-trade clause. And a no-trade clause because we know what happened last time he was a coach in the Oakland Raiders. So he made sure to put that in his contract too.
I mean, keep going. Say that he got to appoint his own GM. Say that he's basically running the team. I mean, dude, go ahead. Get it off. Because, I mean, it's one of those things where there is a way to get out of this situation, but does Mark Davis know how to get out of the situation, and does he want to get out of this situation? Because when you're in a hole this deep, you traded away a generational player that made a team that was probably going to go 6-10 into a Super Bowl contender if they had a kicker. You have a guy who looked like he was dead in the water, to be fair, but you flip a first-round pick for him. You look like a genius, and he goes on to revitalize the Dallas Cowboys. So you trade away two guys that were first-round picks who were supposed to change your franchise. They change other people's franchises the same year. Now, you're going to go and get spoiled and damaged goods. They're damaged and they're spoiled. You saw what happened in Pittsburgh. If the Pittsburgh Steelers, of all franchises, can't foster loyalty and respect and can have a guy just quit on them and literally think that the entire team, the entire ship will go down if he doesn't play, why would you want him on your team? Even Al Davis, the great Al Davis would say, even for the Oakland Raiders, that's a stretch. That's a lot. So, Mark, I can't really – I have jokes, but at the same time, I'm not going to open up with them because it's just weird to see all of this play out. And I think that the Antonio Brown thing, it's a huge issue. It's a big issue. But I think that year 2 of this thing, you have the Khalil Mack trade because you didn't want to pay him. You have the Amari Cooper trade because you didn't want to pay him and he was dead in the water. You trade for Antonio Brown for a third-round pick. If I remember correctly, there was money on his old deal. The deal that he has now is better than his old deal. That's probably why Antonio Brown was crying and complaining because he knew it was too far gone and the team didn't pay Le'Veon, so why would they pay him when they had Juju and they had to get out of town? That being said, okay, he does all this and holds out. It's a lot cheaper than it is now. And you got a guy who wants money, who needs to play, because if he went to Oakland and sat out, that'd basically be a wrap. He's basically Terrell Owens for the rest of his career. So I think this is a thing, also hiring a media guy to be your GM when he has no prior NFL experience. I think this is like one thing of many where we're 2 years into this 10-year contract, and it's like, my God, can you really do much worse? And if you can, please don't show us.
You know, I think with John Gruden, I think he always kind of had a voice in the back of his head saying that you didn't really build the pieces back in Tampa Bay. And he kind of always had that criticism that he kind of just jumped into a pretty favorable position. He had that defense built up by Tony Dungy in Tampa Bay. And he just, tweaked a few things on offense. And then he won a Super Bowl. And I think had he been able to repeat and win another Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, then kind of that criticism would have fallen to the wayside. But the fact that he didn't, I think that's always kind of lingering. So I think in signing that 10-year deal, I think if he was going to come back to football, he was going to demand a long-term deal so he could build his own team. So I think that's why he probably, that's really why he negotiated this long-term deal with Mark Davis.
All right. You heard it, fellas, here. So let me jump in here with our social media poll. And, hey, Dallas, I'm going to be honest with you. The AFC West probably had the most votes out of any division we have covered. So
I believe it. The NFC West votes didn't get any. Either that means it's a one-sided division or nobody's beating the Patriots in that division, so who cares?
So, Twitter, Facebook, combined 65 votes for the AFC West. For Twitter, you had the Kansas City Chiefs getting 59%. You had the Broncos and the Chargers tied with 13%, and Oakland coming in second place with 16%. On the Facebook side, 75% went to the Kansas City Chiefs, 12% went to the Chargers, 9% went to Denver, and 3% went to the Oakland Raiders. So as Dallas openly started talking about the AFC West, it's the Chiefs, and the battle for second place could be any one of the other three.
Now we must mention Chargers fans are the Cowboys fans of the West. If you ask a Chargers fan, they think that all things considered, they still have a shot. Running backs holding out, that's okay. He'll come back. Keenan Allen already nicked up. That's okay. He'll be there when we need him. Phillip Rivers, old, ain't got a contract. Who knows who's blocking for him? That's all right. He did it before. As long as they got pass rushers. Oh, yeah, and by the way, their safeties hurt. They said it was indefinite. Now it's 3 to 4 months, which means that, yeah, hopefully you're making a playoff push, or else why bring him back? So it's a battle amongst the other three. But like I said, when it just comes to pure stability, man, I really think Denver's shooting for second place. And the thing is, I think Denver's going to get second place and be like 9-7. I think like if it was a down year, they'd probably be shooting to win the division. But when you're talking about a team that might go 13-3 or 12-4 in Kansas City, I mean, 9-7 is about the best you could do.
So you kind of had a close. My prediction was pretty close as well. I thought Denver was going to finish 8-8. That's my thought. I think their defense is going to be their defense is already solid. I mean, you got Von Miller there, and you got Bradley Chubb coming off a excellent rookie year, double-digit sacks. He had 12 sacks last year. You got Vic Fangio is now your head coach. You've seen what he's done in San Francisco. You've seen what he's done in Chicago. Always great defenses. So I think, no problems on defense. You got that great backfield. You got Phillip Lindsay coming off his Pro Bowl year. He's probably going to be splitting carries with Royce Freeman, another second-year guy. No problems there. My issue is just with Joe Flacco. I think him coming to Denver, he's kind of hoping for that Peyton Manning ending, where he felt like his team didn't want him anymore and he found a new home. But I don't think he's going to have that Peyton Manning ending. I think they're going to have a couple of, depending on how many more seasons he plays, I think they're going to have a couple more mediocre years. And I think it's inevitable. I think Drew Lock is going to – if he hadn't got injured, if Drew Lock hadn't got injured in the Monday night game, I think he would have really been knocking on the door this season to replace him. But I think, I think Flacco's going to finish out this season, because of that injury. Drew Lock's out a couple weeks. And now Kevin Hogan's kind of, knocking on the door for that backup spot now. But, I really think that I just don't feel like Flacco can really, I think that 8-8 finish is going to put them in third place in the division.
So, okay. So, I'm looking at Kansas City's schedule right now. As Dallas said earlier, the Kansas City Chiefs will be making the trip right here to Jacksonville, Florida to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then the following week, they're going to Oakland. So, week 2 is already. We're going to see if Antonio Brown is all in with the Ravens or not. Baltimore week 3. So, what you think of their first 3 games, Dallas?
They have the quarterback. And Tyreek Hill never got suspended. So, they've got a deep threat. They've got the MVP from last year. And, I mean, dude, you don't get 5,000 yards and 50-plus touchdowns just throwing it to one dude. They still got Kelsey. They still got Tyreek Hill. And I'm sure there's other weapons.
They got Carlos Hyde now, too. He's a solid back.
Oh, yeah. See,
he's a solid workhorse.
And the difference between Andy Reid and like a traditional spread it out, throw it everywhere coach is Andy Reid, even though he threw it a little bit too much with Donovan McNabb back in the day, if you really look back at an Andy Reid team, they're decent at running. Those Alex Smith teams, he wasn't going to throw it deep. He needed to run the ball to get stuff open. Brian Westbrook, Kareem Hunt. Before Kareem Hunt got suspended last year, we didn't know who was the most dynamic player on that team. Kareem Hunt was having 150-yard games, and Patrick Mahomes was doing what he did. Andy Reid has found a way to find way more balance in his attack, which in turn is going to help Mahomes even more, especially when you're talking about deep shots down the field. So,
let me hop in here real quick because I just noticed I'm looking at their schedule, Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
They play the entire NFC North this season.
Is it sequential?
They will see Detroit week 4. That's at Detroit. They won't see Green Bay till week 8. And the following week, week 9 would be Minnesota. Both of those games will be at Arrowhead. And then they will see Chicago. They'll be at Chicago week 16 on Sunday Night Football. So they got at Chicago Sunday night, Green Bay Sunday night.
I mean, primetime schedule for a primetime team. Now you got to live up to it, though. I mean, it's AFC runner-up. So, I mean, if you shut out hard games and primetime games, I'm not going to ooh and ah at it.
So we'll get to see Patrick Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins and Mitchell Trubisky. Oh, Khalil Mack, come in.
Pro Bowl quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky. Get it right.
And don't forget they're playing the AFC South too, right? So you can see Andrew Luck in there as well, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, we talked about that last week because we did the South last week.
Yeah. So there's a lot of there's a lot of top-notch talent in those two divisions.
Dallas have no faith in that division against the West.
Dude, just like the waste of time that you saw last year in the AFC wildcard game, I have whoever wins the AFC South, there should be a petition that division champions don't always get to host games because that's going to be a rough game. Week 18.
So, yeah, he has no faith. So, but we'll see how that goes. Just looking at these schedules and, yeah, nice. The Chargers would play Pittsburgh out in L.A. That would be something to watch for.
Yeah. It's going to be a duel of gunslingers on the way out the door.
And I just want to touch on the fact that USA Today had the Chargers winning the Super Bowl, which I don't know how they got to that point, but, yeah, they had them winning the Super Bowl. So
well, you said that just reminded me what we went through last year, and Dallas lost his mind because people were actually picking the Chargers.
Bro, I just say it. I literally just said like 2 minutes ago. If you ask a Chargers fan how the Chargers are going to do this year, they think they winning it all. I want to know the
Yeah, we got to check. Maybe the guy who wrote that USA Today article, maybe he's a Chargers fan. Who knows? We need to investigate further.
That's asinine. So,
again in Denver, I mean, you talking about Von Miller and Bradley Chubb trying to get out the Baker Mayfield on November 3rd.
Hey! Don't try to oversell that. Greg Robinson, failed St. Louis first-round pick. Greg Robinson is their new left tackle. He got the job. Freddie Kitchens believes in him, but I mean, brother, you're either going up against a future perennial Pro Bowler and Bradley Chubb, or a Hall of Famer and Von Miller, whichever way they want to line up in the formation. So, I mean, Baker Mayfield is elusive, but he ain't that elusive.
I'm just looking at the teams that didn't schedule. Derek Carr, Mitchell Trubisky, Aaron Rodgers, Nick Foles, Phillip Rivers, Marcus Mariota, Patrick Mahomes, Andrew Luck, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford.
I feel like whoever starts between Mariota or Tannehill is going to be okay. I feel like Taylor Lewan doesn't get the credit he should. I think that, the offensive line for Tennessee, that's going to be very interesting to see because they're not the same team because Joe Flacco is a miles better as a passer to both Tannehill and Mariota. But I feel like that game is going to be very boring to watch, but it's going to pass by very quickly because there's going to be a lot of rushing attempts.
So, pretty much that is the AFC West, and so far I'm sorry you can't stay on because we're talking NFC West next. And well, after what I saw on that Monday night game from your San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy G. Whew.
Yeah. It was a rough one, but like I keep telling everybody, it's preseason and this is the time to get all those jitters out. So
it sure be a damn shame if a franchise paid all that money for a backup quarterback. I hope it's y'all and not us.
So we'll talk to you later, and thank you for coming on.
Can I give myself a quick plug here?
Go ahead.
All right. So I am Safa. And you can find me on Twitter at RealArmchairQB, right for Unfiltered Access and for 49ers Hub. hop on, check out my work. Let me know what you think. And I thank you so much, guys, for letting me be on the podcast. And I really enjoyed this, and hope to chat with you guys again soon.
Oh, dude, thank you for coming.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's about the NFC West.
A.K.A. Patriots division on the other side of the country.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? It's a long process. It's a hard, thought-out process. Yeah, I know. I was there. From March of this year, thinking about how I'm going to do this, doing all my research, trying to get everything right. What platforms can we use and how we going to record it and how we going to make it sound good and make it all this happen. And then I came upon Anchor. The Anchor app on my phone, the easiest choice I could ever make to do a podcast. It's free to use. You don't got to pay for nothing. You can record episodes whenever you're ready. You can edit it, and then you can release them when you want to. And you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how you're going to distribute it on other platforms, because Anchor has partnerships with Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, whatever you name it. Because the Playmakers Ball podcast is the podcast that I use. We're on all them platforms. We're on 9 platforms just by using the Anchor app. So pretty much all the questions that you have questions about doing a podcast, go to the Anchor app or go to the Anchor website, anchor.fm.com, and just search through it, ask questions. Because I tell you, a free app that does all this, there's nothing more you can ask for. I even got friends, they doing their podcast on the Anchor app. Faith Talk, you might have heard of it because it's very good. And it's great that it's an app like this, it's a website like this that makes it easier for people to do podcasts and do what they love best, talking about the things that they love to talk about. So give Anchor a try, see how much you like it. We'll love to hear your podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and we got 2 more guests with us on this one as we get ready to talk about the NFC West. The man who requested to be on for this one, Alex, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
And I finally got my boy back from basketball to talk football with me. Justin, what's going on?
Oh, just enjoying the summer, having nice sunshine. That's all.
So we talking NFC West, and since it's Justin's first time coming on talking about football, we're gonna let Justin break down the NFC West.
Take it away, Justin. So what we got is your obvious favorites. If we're going to really rank this NFC West, it is a very lopsided NFC West, in my opinion. We got Rams coming out of it very strong, coming off fresh from their Super Bowl appearance. Then we got a little bit of rebuild in this division, which is great because we got Kyler coming in. But I'm just thinking it's going to be a nice juxtaposition because we got youth on Arizona and San Francisco, and we got a whole lot of experience and tradition with the Rams and the Seahawks, especially with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson still going. I don't know if this is 6 or 7 years strong now, but yeah, they're still wrecking it up in Seattle. I still have the Rams coming out of this division. And I have the Seahawks maybe, sliding in with a wild card. But I still expect Arizona and San Francisco to be top 5 draft picks next season during the draft. There are a lot of bright spots with the young guys, but I just don't think they're there yet. And there are a lot of question marks with the young guys. So on the San Francisco side, I found that, we keep on hearing these headlines about Jimmy G throwing 5 picks at practice. And I don't know about you guys, but that shit kind of scares me right away.
Did you see the game?
The game was terrible. I saw that the series that he was running, and he just really looked out of sorts. I don't know if it's because he's still coming off injury. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's been away for the game for at least a year, and he hasn't played a snap of football since. So we have to give him the benefit of the doubt in that situation. But at the same time, this is the guy that we all projected San Francisco would build their offense around. And if Jimmy G, in my opinion, doesn't have a 500 record, they should consider moving him or building another quarterback in the draft because, I mean, even though they only gave away a box of cookies for Jimmy Garoppolo, San Francisco doesn't have a lot of time. They do have George Kittle, which is a great weapon for Jimmy G. Someone I'm a big fan of. He's going into his third season and he's already a Pro Bowler. So I think that's something to keep aware of. Don't forget, we got rookies like Deebo Samuel, who's going to be catching a lot of passes. He's a second-round pick from South Carolina, and I think Deebo could totally break a game open for San Francisco. But I think the whole thing rests on Jimmy G when it comes to the 49ers. It all rests on Jimmy G, and if he is the man for the job with this Kyle Shanahan fast-paced offense. If he's not, then it's time to move on.
All right, Alex, you requested to be on for this one, so you go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Well, the NFC West, despite the fact, the Los Angeles Rams are without a doubt very, very impressive. I mean, they're loaded. They've got unique coaching. They've got a unique chemistry, a unique mentality. They've basically got everything it takes to win the Super Bowl. Now, they won the Super Bowl last year. Unfortunately, it was kind of a game we didn't expect. We didn't expect we didn't expect it to go the way it did. But the thing is, Los Angeles, they're young and they're well constructed. So they've got I still think they have what it takes to win the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win it at least once within the next 5 years. If that doesn't happen, well, that's just too bad. But the thing is, Los Angeles has nothing to worry about. I mean, they got, especially on defense, there's Aaron Donald, as we know, got that huge contract, and he's definitely making the best out of it. But when I think about the NFC West, it's not so much as the Rams, because, the Rams are just too exciting. The thing is, there's a new era going on with the Cardinals, because the Cardinals have just been in rebuild mode for so many years. We don't even know if they're going anywhere positive. Now Cliff Kingsbury, me being a Texan, Cliff Kingsbury is a guy I'm familiar with. Cliff Kingsbury certainly has a lot of passion. He loves to coach, and it's unfortunate that his record at Texas Tech, which was 35-40, obviously it speaks for itself, and it kind of puts a bit of a mediocre image on him. But the thing is, him along with Kyler Murray, I think he and Kyler Murray can definitely work well together and develop. Because the thing is, the Cardinals need a young quarterback that they can trust, but not just for like 1 or 2 years. They need a guy they can trust for at least half a decade, and they haven't had that for so long. I mean, they tried signing a veteran, Sam Bradford, last year. We all know how that turned out. I mean, to the 2 games that Bradford started, if I'm not wrong, they were both blowout losses, and then they brought in Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen tried his best, but unfortunately it didn't work. So the thing is, right now, it's no surprise. The critics definitely have Arizona finishing last. It's definitely realistic to predict them as going last. But the thing is, if they don't win as many games, but they play with a better attitude, like let's say they play better, they just come up short. To me, that does say that they're definitely going in the right direction as far as mentality. Because when you rebuild a team, you can't win all the time, but it's the way you play that really convinces the world of the future. I want to shift to the Seattle Seahawks. See, a couple years ago, the Seattle Seahawks had arguably one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen. It was called the Legion of Boom. Now, the Legion of Boom is no more, unfortunately. I mean, Richard Sherman's not there anymore. Everybody else. I mean, Bobby Wagner's still there, but Bobby Wagner's, even though some people still consider him the best linebacker, he can't go all by himself. So when it comes to the Seahawks, while basically their glory days are basically, some people say the glory days is all behind them, the Seahawks are still, I like to say, they're an average team because they still win. They still make the playoffs. But as far as them being a Super Bowl team, I don't think we'll see that for a long time.
All right, Dallas. I don't want to hear what you got to say.
Wait, so that means you're gonna go, right?
No, you're gonna go. I'm gonna take this like a man.
I mean, the NFC West, I think I'm trying to really rack my brain real quick. I think this is the division where the regular season is pretty much almost automated because this team that's coming back for Los Angeles is coming off a Super Bowl appearance where I wouldn't say embarrassed because, embarrassed is, 44-3. Shut down, learning some lessons, going back to the drawing board and realizing that you relied way too heavily on Todd Gurley and your quarterback's ability to get, signals in time to see what the defense was doing. That's lesson learning. And I think that a Los Angeles Rams team with Jared Goff, this is this the 4th year in his contract?
This would be his 4th year. Yes.
Have they announced the option yet? Have they announced them taking the 5th-year option? Are they actually going to pay this man?
They haven't announced it yet, but to be honest with you,
Leslie and McVay, they are working on it because they already got Todd Gurley paid. They already got Aaron Donald paid. So nobody cares about your parent right now, Darnell. The thing is, this is the 4th year you've had a division win, losing the first round, but you're young, you're learning.
This is the 3rd year they got a division win, though. This would be the last year that they went to the Super Bowl was only their 2nd. So they're still, and it is still their 2nd, but they are growing.
We won years ago, and we got ousted out by the Falcons
in the wild card. Yes, they did that, and then after that, they went all the way through.
Last year it was the Super Bowl run that didn't end the way I wanted.
Yeah. So, but dude, so Jared Goff, when he's with Jeff Fisher, looks like a bust. Looks like a waste of his first overall pick.
Total bust.
2nd year with Sean McVay, he looks better, but I mean,
he's still got work. He's still got work to do, basically.
Yeah, and last year, I mean, dude, it was literally exposure. The wheels fell off. Bill Belichick did one of the simplest coaching old man tricks you can do. It was literally, it didn't even go down to X's and O's. It didn't even go down to this player covers that player. It didn't he literally did old man got game stuff, like old man strength. He literally just waited until the coaches couldn't talk to their quarterbacks anymore. That's literally how Bill Belichick won the Super Bowl. Something that simple. Todd Gurley got paid, injuries still being relevant. Aaron Donald got paid, but Aaron Donald's Aaron Donald. Ndamukong Suh is already gone because everybody knew that team last year. That team last year did what it was supposed to do. It got to the Super Bowl. When you looked at that team on paper, then they had the Dante Fowler trade in the middle of the season. Everybody knew if this team does not make it to the Super Bowl, what the hell is Los Angeles doing? What do they even need to keep going with this very high-priced roster? But no, they made the Super Bowl. So, literally, if you're talking about the regular season in the NFC West, it's automated. It's right there because no matter what Russell Wilson does, no matter if he blows out the San Francisco 49ers and the Cardinals and gets a free 4 games. Last year, with a team that was probably better on paper, obviously they have more experience this year, but last year with a team that was probably better on paper, Russell Wilson basically put up 30 by himself both times, and they still lost. So this year with more experience, and that team being fleeced because of the cap hits between Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson, Los Angeles is going to win the division. Now the only question is when Jared Goff is in the contract year and you wonder if he's really your franchise quarterback or not, what's going to happen in the playoffs? Because we know what Russell Wilson can do. We know that Russell Wilson can have a team in a quote-unquote rebuilding year and have them in a game where they probably would have won if they didn't lose their kicker. And one of the most surreal and crazy events that ever happened in a playoff game. Russell Wilson dragged a team that was supposed to be picking in the top 15 to the playoffs. When the playoffs start, it's a different story because we don't know who Jared Goff is, and we don't even know if Todd Gurley is going to be healthy.
But we know what we're getting with Russell Wilson. Exactly.
Yeah, you know what you get with Russell Wilson, especially when the tournament starts. Because when the tournament starts, I can't remember who we picked because we haven't done the North yet. But I can't remember who we've picked so far. But right now in the tournament, we haven't picked anybody in the NFC that really can sun Russell Wilson in the playoffs. I think the only dude who could really sun Russell Wilson is Drew Brees, and it'll still be a shootout. So, regular season, it's Los Angeles, and it's really not close because, they'll probably have a 2-game lead because of the tiebreakers they'll get over Seattle. But the tournament's different.
Yeah, once we get playoffs, we're in it. We're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Okay, so he really did do what I thought he was going to do.
Oh, I did. That's the Super Bowl.
I'll tell you this. I will challenge your theory on that whole Jared Goff comparison or that whole Jared Goff critique, because I think that if it's a matter of offensive scheming when it came to Todd Gurley reliance and the performance of Jared Goff, then if anything, that's just on McVay. McVay's got to be able to be reliant and adjust on the fly. This is a Super Bowl game. And yes, I get it. If McVay is comparable to Brad Stevens and Bill Belichick is comparable to Popovich, I'll take Popovich in one game. I totally will. But at the same time, I would expect Brad Stevens to put up a fight. And to me, it almost seemed like Sean McVay was waving the white flag. And if we're going to go ahead and crown Sean McVay as the new Popovich, like how we're crowning Brad Stevens as the next offensive genius in the NBA, we need to see more from Sean McVay. We did see a Super Bowl appearance, and at this point, you got to just say he needs to get over the hump. He needs to get a Super Bowl win. But you can't just wave a white flag like that in the biggest game of your career. You can't just do that. You can't let Bill Belichick walk over you, even though he is the greatest coach of all time, arguably. You can't let him just walk over you and turn you into his son.
In other words, you're saying show no fear.
Say that again?
Well, in other words, you're basically saying, Sean McVay needs to learn a lesson, and that lesson is never show any fear.
Never show any fear, because he looked intimidated. He looked like he was in class and Bill Belichick was the professor. He looked exactly like that. He looked like he looked like an assistant coach out there. He really did. He did not look like a head coach.
Well said.
I can't disagree with none of that either. That's the bad part.
I mean, I have a count. Since we did the NBA analogy, it's just weird because it's like the counterpoint to your counterpoint would be we're focusing on Sean McVay and trying to build Jared Goff out by focusing on Sean McVay. But Nick Nurse was definitely not the one who won the finals for the Toronto Raptors.
That is true, but also Nick, you can't put it past it, because me being, and you're gonna hear it from me because I am the Raptor fan, but you can't say that because Dwayne Casey couldn't do that. The way I'm trying to say it is that Dwayne Casey, sure, he had so many shots with it, but sometimes you just need a new voice. And to be completely honest with you, when Nurse was under his wing, I really think that the changing of that offense was all Nick Nurse. It was all Nick Nurse. When they changed it, they started putting Van Vliet and DeLon Wright and all these other bench players in. That was all Nick Nurse's offense. So at the same time, it's not necessarily a changing of the guard, but I would say that Nick Nurse, it cannot be discredited for any of the stuff that Kawhi Leonard did or that Siakam did. So at the same time, we cannot discredit the fact that Sean McVay is not that good of a coach because he has Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley, and Jared Goff. We can't just say that because you gotta work with the pieces that you have, and Nick Nurse totally succeeded with that. It's that simple.
It's basically like saying you have all the pieces. The question is, do you know how to use them? That's basically it.
Exactly. That's what Nick Nurse totally showed it. Nick Nurse put Siakam playing a point guard position sometimes, or he put Kawhi Leonard on the block and work it out there and make Kawhi Leonard a 4 instead of a 3 or a 2. So in a way, it's all about juxtaposition within your players and your pieces. You got to know how to use it. And I just think this has got to be the year Sean McVay proves himself, because if he does not prove himself as showing innovation or showing any sort of a competency or production with his pieces, because he has done it before. He has created the number one offense, but I mean, he needs to be consistent in the playoffs, because if he's not consistent, then we are starting to really question Sean McVay.
I'll say this. That Super Bowl was hard to swallow.
It was.
I kept saying, why are you not making adjustments? You have to make adjustments when you go against Bill Belichick and New England Patriots. You already know who he's going to take away. How you going to counter it? Then he's going to counter you, so you got to counter him back. You never counter.
Were they doubling Aaron?
Yes, actually, they were in the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yes, Bill. See, I was reading this a couple of days ago. How Aaron Donald, it took like 2 to 3 guys, sometimes even 3 on certain plays to contain Donald. So that's why Aaron Donald was shut down pretty big. But the thing is, it took more than one guy to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because we have to remember. I know it's hard to, but we all have to remember. Aaron Donald's a defensive tackle. If a defensive tackle is commanding triple teams in the Super Bowl, he's not really being shut down. If
not.
anything, he is doing his job to the 100th degree. That should have been Ndamukong Suh and Dante Fowler and the linebackers cleaning up. If Aaron Donald, 280, is 100%. Commanding for the Super Bowl.
I would say this. The defense only gave us 17 points in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, again, the Rams didn't get embarrassed. You have to wonder. It's the fourth year. Quarterbacks are getting paid crazy. Carson Wentz and Nick Foles got paid in the same offseason. Jared Goff we haven't heard a peep out of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I agree, man.
One thing I do like, we drafted Darrell Henderson from Memphis at running back. That was a good draft pick. You don't have to put the load on Ty Gurley no more.
Yeah, that is true. You still have Malcolm Brown too, so.
I think Malcolm Brown's injured.
AJ Anderson not there anymore. I think he was just there for the playoff run and the Super Bowl run because of Gurley's injuries. C.J. Anderson was brought in as insurance, wasn't he?
Yeah, that is true. Anderson was put in for
insurance. He was. He so paid dividends too. But we got Darren Anderson, so we got Ty Gurley.
Yeah, and then you're getting Cooper Kupp. We're getting Cooper Kupp back, so that's something that needs to be addressed too. I mean, Cooper Kupp was having a.
Thank you. I have missed.
Cooper Kupp was having a hell of a good rookie season, really, and then he comes down with his injury out for the second year, and then I think if in his third year, if he's coming back off ACL, it's going to take him time to get his bearings down. But at the same time, it is a third-year wide receiver. It's usually at this time they're going to break out.
Brandon Cooks
still there.
Brandon Cooks, you got some making up to do because you dropped 2 touchdown passes in the Super Bowl.
Wow, that could have been 17 points.
You dropped 2 of them.
I feel like Cooks might have been cocky or just had a bad day.
Oh, well, it's bad time after bad day.
So, Seattle, Russell Wilson got paid. He's going to do what he do. You can barely touch the damn guy.
They got to fix that line still. That line is still breaking down on him.
We got it times last year.
Jeez, they need to fix that line.
See, well, I think that they did in a sense. They brought in the big lineman, offensive line veteran, the Mike Iupati, which should definitely help a bit. But we still don't know. We still don't know if his presence, how much help it's going to be. In that case, all we can do is just wait and see. But Mike Iupati does bring the veteran expertise. I mean, he's been playing. I believe his rookie year was in 2010. He started out with the 49ers and then went to the Cardinals, and I think now he's with Seattle.
Damn, he really stayed in the division. That's rare.
Yeah, it's extremely rare. I don't know if staying in the division would help him. I mean, anything could. I mean, the thing is, when you have experience, I mean, the thing is wherever you go, I mean, your veteran expertise will definitely make an impact. It's just never known how much of an impact it's going to make. But the bottom line is Russell Wilson has a veteran protecting him. So that should basically we don't know how much protection he's going to get. But as long as he has one big guy, a guy who's been known to be a good veteran and a good blocker, Russell Wilson does have a glimmer of hope.
Yeah. San Francisco, Jimmy G's coming back from that ACL injury, and he looked horrific Monday nights.
Well, speaking of San Francisco, they drafted Nick Bosa second overall, but unfortunately, he's already dealing with injuries, and his status. I'm not sure about his status, about him being ready for Week 1. But the fact that they draft Bosa and he already gets hurt, I mean that's already getting 49er fans to bite their teeth. I mean, I'm sorry, bite their nails. But if Bosa is healthy and he's healthy along with Solomon Thomas hasn't really been effective. If Bosa could stay healthy and then Solomon all of a sudden starts playing good, I think the 49ers could start having a dynamic defensive line duo, which could definitely help them. Because the thing is, 49ers. Everything's in doubt. I mean, the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. I mean, even Richard Sherman's there. I mean, the secondary is still a mess. The thing is, the 49ers, they have no pride. They have no concentration. They have no chemistry. And because they have none of that, they have no motivation. So they're basically, it's like they're just sitting on the ground and they need something. They need to be given a hand to be pulled back up. And the only way they can pull themselves, back up is by just, taking it one game by one, learn your lessons, and just go out there and play and do your best.
That is true.
They got to score running backs.
Yeah, they got to figure out if they're going to play Coleman or they're going to start with McKinnon. McKinnon's got some injuries too, but I mean, the way I see it with these guys is that you can have a really good line because you do also have DeForest Buckner, who is your Pro Bowler. Granted, he was an alternate, but I mean, I will say this: the defense is set on the line. The secondary is a mess, and the offense has no identity. So, again, the 49ers are in a tough rebuilding phase, but it's just a matter of establishing a culture and finding an identity. I agree with you 100%, Alex. I think that they have no motivation, they have no chemistry, and they have no internal force that is telling them, hey, it's worth winning a couple games, because I don't think these guys are willing to sacrifice for each other without this culture. And especially when they have egos like Richard Sherman and guys like, mostly it's just going to be Richard Sherman, but, that's the only downside to it. He is getting old, so I think it's either you gotta decide if you want to keep on buffing the offense or you want to buff the secondary, but I think the line is good.
Before we get into Arizona, let me go ahead and throw this poll out here real quick. Dallas Twitter was very disrespectful to my game. Only 2 votes, and they both went to the Rams.
Nobody cares.
But Facebook, on the other hand, 40 votes. Jeez. I think that's the most single votes we got.
That's something, man.
70% went to the Rams, 20% went to Seattle, 7.5% went to Arizona, and 2.5% went to San Francisco. Now, I did that because Dallas kind of talked about it last week when we was talking about the Big 12. So now he gets a more of an opportunity to talk about Arizona and they new head coach and they new quarterback.
Yeah, like the thing with Arizona that's odd is they're doing what they did last year, but now they're in a situation where there's even more uncertainty. And it's even more unorthodox to the fact of where it's like you're not even picking up from where you left off. You're not even going back to square one. How much further back are you going? I'm not familiar with Steve Wilkes' resume. I'm not going to act like I'm familiar with it. All I know is that rookie head coach, rookie quarterback that ended up starting even though you had a high-priced veteran, which also confuses me with the San Francisco thing because it's like Kyle Shanahan is a Shanahan. Nick Mullins is still in that roster. He's a starter in the NFL. Is he going to be a Pro Bowler? I don't know. But that dude's a starter. And as bad as Jimmy G is looking right now, that confuses me, and I wonder how long it's going to be before Shanahan pulls the plug. But when you look at Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, you have a quarterback where the first time you saw him go against real competition, he was dwarfed. And you have a coach who never got a chance to face real competition because he never made it out of his conference and he was happy to make bowl games. He's bringing the same offense that in the Big 12 where there is no defense, he couldn't succeed. The NFL MVP, who threw for over 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, played for Cliff Kingsbury. He never played in a New Year's Six Bowl. He never played in a bowl that mattered. He was playing in early December, just like the other bums from the MAC. So how is Arizona's front office thinking that firing an NFL head coach that had NFL experience and getting rid of a top 10 pick that you just drafted and basically worked out a lot of kinks behind that terrible offensive line, how, when you would have David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald returning, is your move blow it up, start over? New coach, new quarterback.
Because the idea is, I think they have so much, they have a lot of prowess on David Johnson. I think that they think that backfield with Kyler Murray and David Johnson is going to be a RPO nightmare for defenses. I think that's really what it's going to end up becoming. It sounds a little bit far-fetched, but I mean, we once were discussing that David Robinson was the best running back in the league at one point. And I get that ACL tear is going to, come back to haunt you. But, I mean, Adrian Peterson came back with ACL tear. And I'll tell you this, it is an anomaly. I feel like Adrian Peterson is the outlier in this situation. But, I mean, if we are creatures of habit and we want to see patterns, then we can't put it past David Johnson, because we did think David Johnson was the best running back at one point. Before Zeke came in, we thought David Johnson was the king of the running back position. So I think what their philosophy is that Kyler Murray and David Johnson is going to be an RPO nightmare for defenses. And I mean, it could be, but I still again, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, you got to prove it before I'm going to sip on the Kool-Aid.
Also, another thing, too, is like I know preseason is vanilla, but this is another reason why it's a problem that a coach who did not succeed in college is risky when you're firing a coach that had nothing to work with. Kyler Murray has taken how many sacks behind that terrible offensive line? Kyler Murray has had how many plays where it's just straight shotgun with no tight end helping, with no back helping, with no protection shifts, anything? Like your rookie quarterback, who you want to do all the RPO stuff with, who you want to keep it vanilla with because you don't want the league to see, you're leaving him back there. Dress rehearsal next week. And what's going to remain, like first 2 weeks, you know what? Okay, it's preseason. It's a wash. You're vanilla. You're not trying to show anything. But the thing with the dress rehearsal is, if you want to stay vanilla and you don't want to give Kyler a chance, you don't want to give him some fakes to work with so that the ends just aren't crashing down on him, you don't want to give him some protection size or anything, please go out there. I don't know who they're playing. It really doesn't matter who they're playing, because if there are two starting NFL defensive ends going against the Cardinals' terrible tackle situation, and it is a dress rehearsal, that's going to be a problem. If I'm the GM of the Arizona Cardinals, I'm concerned if Cliff Kingsbury on the first series runs the same thing that he's been running in the name of going vanilla while my franchise quarterback is back there with no help, empty backfield.
So, all right. So
I like that.
See, that surprised me because I would have figured that a lesson would be learned that when a football coach goes from college football to the National Football League, that they would know that using the same kind of system and everything is a very, very bad idea. But it seems like some guys feel like, no need. I mean, these guys are smart; they'll understand what's going on. But the thing is, a lot of guys. I mean, when it comes to going from college football to the NFL, it's not the same thing. Some coaches believe it's the same. It's just the only difference is those guys are they're students and these guys are pros. It's a whole different world. It's like it's like stepping into a larger world. It's not the same thing. And then when those coaches make that mistake, they realize it's too late.
When has it ever been successful? Putting a college system into the NFL.
I don't remember. See, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember the last time it was successful. But and in that case, I don't understand why coaches are still trying to test that.
Well, I will say the only example I could really think of that kind of made it work, and I can't even speak for it because it's such a long time ago, and I don't know how much he changed it. But Chip Kelly had a little bit of success when he was with Philly. I mean, he did have he had a little bit there going, but I mean, it didn't last long. And
Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy, you can't run a college offense without college athletes. And if you want to get rid of your best athletes on the team and have average NFL players running a college offense that relies on speed and elite talent, well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100. I mean, they just don't have the speed on this team to work it, and they don't. It's the whole idea of a college system.
So I'm gonna put it like this: the NFC West will be playing the NFC South and the NFC North this year, which means Kingsbury and Kyler Murray will be able to test out that air raid offense against the Lions. But then you got Baltimore, Carolina, Seattle.
Sweet Jesus.
Atlanta. I think we're going to go pretty quickly if that offense is going to work.
God bless the dead. Because, man. Hey, keep a tight end in, man. Yo, sign a 270-pound tight end or something to just keep in. Because if you're really going to go up against all those defenses with 5 empty,
you need protection. That's all you need. You just need to protect Kyler Murray at all costs, or else he's just going to be Russell Wilson 2.0. And if you put him at that position right now, he might get traumatized. He may decide he wants to do baseball instead.
That's another thing to think of. If he gets whacked up,
he may want to change. He just may want to leave.
Like that's another Cardinal that baffles me. Why would you have actually has.
So let me ask you guys, what are you guys predicting Arizona's record to be?
Okay, well, why don't we do this? Do you think that they're going to be better or worse than last season?
Oh, worse.
You know what? I don't want to say I don't know, but if I was to predict from a realistic standpoint, I can honestly say they're going to be worse.
They're probably going to be worse. Oh God.
I mean, right now, as far as the Cardinals, the only thing I'm excited for with the Cardinals is seeing Kyler Murray, have some good play, is possibly having some good plays with Larry Fitzgerald. But other than that, I don't know what else is exciting about the Cardinals.
Okay, well, I think we should check the schedule first.
I mean, if they number one, who do they pick?
They pick more protection. They get a tight end, or they get a better offensive line.
So that's the thing. When it comes to building a successful team, is to always also make additions to protecting your offense, to protect the quarterback. Because if the quarterback is not protected and he's not good, the offense doesn't get anywhere. Because a running game, even though if your running game is dominant, what we have to understand is that you have to have a balanced offense. You can't just have a dominant running game but a super mediocre passing game. It has to be balanced.
Well, you got to deal with Aaron Donald out the gate at Carolina, and then we play New Orleans, then at Cleveland for Sunday night football. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the NFC West. But everybody knows the LA Rams, pretty much.
The thing is, basically understanding Arizona's schedule. They started against Detroit, and the thing is, we don't even know as far as Detroit goes. I mean, if somehow Arizona has a good game against Detroit, it could very well mean maybe they're going somewhere. But after that, going against the Ravens and then Panthers and Seahawks, I mean that's where the tests start going in. So Arizona has got a pretty brutal schedule.
Yeah, they got a tough month.
Right now, Arizona overall is going through a very tough era. I mean, I don't even know if we should call it an era because an era usually involves success, but right now we don't even know. I mean, right now Arizona's track record is not very good.
We could call it a depression period for sure.
Arizona's been
pretty much. I mean, similar to the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys have been going through a depression period for so long.
Jesus Christ.
Now I want to thank Alex and Justin for coming on talking to NFC West with us. It was a great moment talking with y'all, but we all know it's about the LA Rams, so it is what it is when it comes to that division. But on the College Football Podcast, guess what? It's the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, the best conference there is in college football. Me and Dallas, we're going to get into it, but we also got 2 games coming up on Saturday. Them Gators of Florida against them Canes from Miami. Down in Orlando for the Camping World kickoff, to kick off the new college football season. And then after that, around about 10 o'clock, if you still up, don't go nowhere. Because guess what? Arizona and Kevin Sumlin's second year got to take on the Warriors of Hawaii. So we got a group of 5 in the Pac-12 going there. So stay tuned for that. And on the wrestling side, look, some things happen on Raw, some things happen on SmackDown. More importantly, the King of the Ring tournament has started. NXT, we saw the champ return. Oh, we got some news about NXT too. So you might want to be on tune for that if you haven't heard yet. But, me and Dallas, as always, we going to get it going. NXT, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live. And I'm going to bring in some AEW news too. So check out that. So subscribe to the podcast, whatever you got to do. Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever you want. We also got a YouTube channel, so subscribe to us, check us out, continue to follow us. So thank you and have a good day.